Welcome. Welcome to Women Who Lead. We just heard our recording in progress, and I know that we're live and we're excited that you are joining us today for this very special episode of Women Who Lead. And we're going to be featuring three powerful leaders that are motivators within their organizations, inspiring others through their work and the compassion that they share for elevating people and causes that affect change. And I'm your host, Teresa Palacios Smith, in case you have not joined us before. And I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. And I'm so glad that you're able to join me today so that we get the opportunity to hear from three incredible leaders who are described by their agents and everyone that knows them as motivators. So grab your cafecito. And again, I've got mine and or chai, right? I think Brenda's more of a tea drinker there. And join us as we introduce our special guests. So today I have Kalani Hooker. Kalani is the broker owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services 8 Action Realtors in the Dallas market. Kalani has over 20 years of experience and has been a trailblazer in DFW real estate market. She's always been a supporter of her agents, including my good friend Deanna Cifuentes, who I'm hope is watching, who is also co-owner in her company. Kalani's desire to promote knowledge and financial growth and the benefits of home ownership have made her a mentor to many agents within and beyond her brokerage. She's been involved intricately in one of the largest real estate associations, that's Metro Tex, in the country, from running weekly meetings to being part of the diversity board. Welcome, Kalani. I can't wait to hear from you. Amy Von Seebach, Esquire. She is the president of Canopy Title, which is Berkshire Hathaway affiliate located in the Birmingham, Alabama market. Amy is a daughter of coal miners, and I love her story because she was the first one in her family to attend college and attain an advanced degree in law, which she did when she was 38 years old, already with a family, and graduating second in her class. Her background has led her to various positions in law, but eventually to title and escrow, which she enjoys. Amy is passionate about using her position to help others. She's honored to have recently been appointed the DEI Advisory Council for ALTA. And Amy and ALTA is the Atlanta Title Association of America, correct, Amy?
It's our national governing body, American Land Title Association.
American. Here I'm in Atlanta, but American Land and Title Association. And Amy really does a lot of work to put forward people who have been in disadvantaged positions for leadership and other opportunities that have been historically closed. I love it that she's going to share her family history and one of my favorite quotes that I've read that I saw in her bio. So hopefully you'll share that with us, Amy. Welcome as well. And then Brenda Wild. Brenda is broker owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services signature properties located in Aspen, Colorado. I can't wait to visit you, Brenda. And she is one of our newest franchise owners, although she has over 20 years of experience owning and also as a realtor, 10 years owning her own company. And Brenda has been involved in leadership throughout many of her different roles in life and has continued this through her real estate career. She has served on her local board since 2007 as president and recently finished her role as the president of the MLS in the Valley. She's serving on the state board on committees and has been a past MT district chair for the state, but she's also passionate about giving back to the community and supporting many nonprofits such as Response, Women's Foundation of Colorado, and the Aspen Snow Mass, and many more. So welcome, Brenda, to the show. Again, I'm excited to have all of you, and I can't wait to hear more about your stories and about how you first got started in real estate. And Brenda, I'm going to start with you asking the question, how did you get started in real estate? Because a lot of times it's by chance versus by choice. So I love to hear when it's the opposite. So Brenda, tell me a little bit about your background.
So I actually rented from a contractor many, many years ago, early 80s in Seattle, Washington. And somehow he talked me into getting my real estate license, and which was a great segue from my sales background in the Seattle, Washington area and California area. And so I had served in the financial field and from retail to financial and so on. So it was a really nice way to kind of culminate everything that I had learned through my 20s and into my 30s. And it was, I started to work with a family-owned business there in Seattle and managed some properties for them, bought and sold properties in the West Seattle area, which is where I lived. And I was a single mom at the time, so I was working a part-time job and doing that at the same time, and then transitioned into years down the road into a owner, which happened over 10 years ago. And I just wanted to create a environment that was different than what I was experiencing in my area, and something that I could really foster, support, create more of a cohesive relationship between brokers, and a place that you could come and not feel like you were threatened or there was too much animosity in between brokers in an office. And so that's been my goal. And I think it's one of the best offices in our area to work for. It's certainly a small boutique office, but it's been really fun to grow. And I look forward to growing it more with Berkshire.
Well, I'm so excited that you're part of our family. And I know that your financial background has got to be a huge advantage in the real estate market, because that is the toughest, part of it, is understanding the financial part, and being that it is the largest investment that anyone will ever make for the most part. It's great that you're able to educate our homeowners on that process. Amy, I know I want to hear about your background, which is also very interesting, in being in the title side and how you got into real estate as well.
The first piece of real estate legal work that I did was actually, I was doing EEOC work at the time, from the plaintiff side. And I spent a day at a legal clinic and picked up a piece of work that involved property law. And I didn't know anything about it at the time. So I called my real estate law professor and got him to jump in. And it was an elderly Black woman in Birmingham who had inherited property when her husband died, and it was only in his name. And she was entitled to a municipal thing that would allow her to make repairs on her house. It would give her money to do that, but she had to prove she owned the house. And she had no resources and no way to go about it without some help. So I called a few people, and my professor called people, and we prepared a deed and recorded it and sent a notary to do some heirship affidavits. It was very simple work. Now that I know what's involved, at the time I didn't. I had to call in some favors, but she was just so grateful for this very simple little bit of work that cost us virtually nothing, very little time. And it was, I'm not out there saving babies or, rescuing people from burning buildings, but it feels really good when you really help someone who didn't have a way to help themselves. And she was so grateful that it really kind of pointed me in a direction there. But I found real estate more or less by accident. I was unhappy in a job and thought I would do some real estate closings as a path to maybe something different, but I just fell in love with it. A real estate attorney, I think in the article I sent you, it's one of the only attorneys people want to go see. Most of the rest of the time you're having a bad day if you have to make an appointment with an attorney. But it's a joyful day. It's usually surrounding a very happy event. Most people buy a new house or sell their house because of a good reason, a new job, a new baby, and it's just a lot of fun.
Oh, what a great viewpoint, right? I've never even thought about. You're right. Most people, if it's your attorney, it's not always good. And having that and helping that individual that didn't have any resources be able to claim her home, right? I think that's so special. So, Amy, thank you for sharing that. How about you, Kalani? Tell us a bit about your background. Can you hear us, Kalani? Oh, we can't. Yeah, we've lost you. So what I'm going to recommend that you do, Kalani, is call in if you can. and then we'll use the audio. Nope, can't hear you right now. So we'll use the audio that way. So let's pivot back, and we'll get back to you. Let's talk about, a little bit about how becoming a broker owner, the process of that, and, why was that important to you? And Brenda, I'm going to start with you and find out a little bit about how, that's been such a special thing for you to do.
It was funny because I was working for an independent after working for a franchise prior. And I had for 2 years had this like gut feeling, this little chat with myself saying, you need to take a look at this and pursue this. And it scared me to death. And then I went to NAR conference with, it was in Orlando at the time. And I took my husband because he's not in the business. And I thought, I'm going to take his eyes and ears, who knows nothing, and then myself, and look at all different options for companies. And so I did. I interviewed 3 or 4 of them, really honed down because I knew what my market was from working in it for so many years, and tried to find the right fit. And to support this drive that I had. And it was just so strong. And I tried to tap it down 3 or 4 times, and it wouldn't go away. So I jumped in when the market was just starting to tank, and I thought nothing could get worse than it is today. And of course we're seeing that, come and go. And I've been there, done that numerous cycles, but I thought, I can do this. And it was the support. I literally sat my family down and I said, it's either going to work or Dad and I are going to be sleeping in a tent. So one or the other. And so far we're not sleeping in a tent. So, but it was a big decision. I did want to, and it affected my family. And that was a big thing too, is reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'm going to throw the dice, and this is a big role. And are you in or you're out? Because I needed everybody to support me on this. And they have been incredibly supportive through many, many years, and many tears, and many, fun days and celebrations. And so it's definitely a family dynamics come into play.
Well, real estate is really a family event, right? We've all found out that the children of those second generation who are part of that industry really are involved, because our jobs are not 9 to 5, right? We're really working with families throughout the weekend. And so it affects everyone's lives in a positive way, right? And I find that a lot of children of realtors say they'll never get in the business, but then they end up realizing it's something they really want to do after the fact. Kalani, I don't know if we can try to see if you're able to check back in with us and unmute yourself, see if you're working. If not, I'm gonna recommend that you sign back on, just join us again and log off so that we can get you working and you're you coming back in. I don't know, I guess Kalani can't hear us. All right. So Amy, tell me a little bit about your background. I know that it's very special. I learned about your family reading your history, and the work that you do is so very special, especially when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. So tell me a little bit about that. I love your sign that you have behind here, all are welcome. Yeah. And I know that's really important. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm from rural Kentucky. I grew up in Georgia. My family, like you said, not educated folks, but I had a lot of opportunities that even my brothers didn't have. They were about 10 and 11 years older than me. I did go to college and a little school in South Carolina, studied English literature, not a very useful undergraduate degree. Got married way too young and had my beautiful children who I adore and give a lot of credit to for teaching me everything I need to know to be a good leader. And that is now 7 children. I have 4 biological children and 3 stepchildren that I have been with for 17 years. So my wife and I have parented them together all this time, and they are wonderful, amazing people. And one of my children did follow me into my part of the industry. He is the state manager for one of the large title insurers in Boise, Idaho, and Montana also, but he lives in Boise. And so that's joyful, is that one of the kids sees what you do as valuable enough to go into the same business. I'm sure anyone who's had that experience enjoys that part. A lot of us around here, we call real estate the Hotel California. You might move around within it and try a different role as a broker, a salesperson, move over to the mortgage side or title, but you really just don't ever leave, because it is such a great place to be, especially for women. And, women can find leadership roles in real estate, whereas a lot of other industries are closed to women, or there's that glass ceiling. So anyway, I am part of the LGBTQ community. I've been married to my wife for 11 years, or 12 years, going on 12 years, recognized in my state for about 6 of those. Who knows what the future holds, but for now. Anyway, and it's a big part of my life. I think it has enriched my children to have another mother in their life. So that's been a big thing. And we have a lot of agents in our agent population. I am in an affiliated arrangement, as you know, and we have tons of agents from that community and other minority communities who need more support. I mean, if an agent walks in with a flamboyantly gay client who's carrying a purse, and a more traditional conservative person gives them a look that makes them feel unsettled or judged in some way, that's not okay, and that's not allowed where I come from. My team knows that.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And, I love your quote about your children. I think it's really important. I think one of the benefits of being in our industry in real estate is that it is so well, for those of us that have families. My kids grew up with me and being in the real estate industry, and it makes it life. You can actually juggle your schedule and really be at important events for them. So Kalani, I'm hoping we have you back. Can you hear us?
You do. Hi.
Yes,
Hey.
awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, because your story is amazing as well. And you have such a great experience in that you came from the security background, having IT security, and really being able to transition into this industry.
Sure.
And have done so much work in training our agents, and education is a big passion for you. So tell me, one, how'd you get started in our industry in real estate, and a little bit about the passion that you have for educating others, especially when it comes to homeownership in the minority markets?
Absolutely. Thank you again for the opportunity just to share. I've actually been in real estate, like you said, a little under 20 years, and come from a corporate background. Information security is been in that realm for probably since the early 90s, and transitioned into real estate just to make a difference. Come from a 2-parent home. We owned a home when I was younger, but I just knew that I desired more and I wanted more. And for the longest I can recall, real estate has always been something that was being dangled like a carrot, and it just offered the greatest opportunity with no glass ceiling. So I transitioned.
Uh-oh. We lost you again. We can't hear you. Are you on yeah. Oh shoot, we lost her. Oh, and I loved hearing her story. May have to have Kalani come back for sure. As she comes back and joins us, let's talk about the experiences that you all have had in leadership. And one of the challenges that people have is determining when to move forward, because a lot of times they're so scared. And you all both have done things that have been scary, and challenges in your life. So tell me a little bit about it. Kalani, can you hear us?
I can't.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and finish up with you, and then we'll move on to the next
But
question.
just in closing, I would like to say that a lot of times agents get into this particular profession really unsure how successful they may be. And I always try to encourage them to lead with passion. If you have just a sincere care for people to achieve home ownership, training you on how to be successful and things that you should employ in order to accomplish that is what.
Again, we've lost you. We cannot hear you. So we're having trouble with your Wi-Fi. Okay. Kalani, don't worry, because we will have you back on the show if we continue to have issues. So I'm going to move forward and ask the questions about pivoting to different either careers or doing something scary or challenging, so that we can, kind of cover that. Amy, let me start with you, because I know that you went to law school when you were 38, which, again, after having a career, decided to kind of pursue that, but you were a stay-at-home mom too, right?
Yes. So I stayed home when my children were young. When my oldest son was born, I was a teacher, a special education teacher in Atlanta at a private school, and that we had on-site daycare. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll just leave him at the daycare. I'll be okay. And as the day approached to leave him with a stranger, I just couldn't do it. So we made the decision for me to stay home. And I did that for 12 years. I was home with my kids until they got to be a little older, but it was always a dream for me to go to college, to law school. And it took 19 years out of undergrad, but I did. I applied, took the LSAT, and then in that interim, from the time I took the LSAT to getting an acceptance letter, we had decided that maybe it was not a good time, that I had missed that window, and I decided not to go. And then I got my acceptance letter and cried for 2 days. And so we decided to try it for one semester, and it turned out that it wasn't too much, and that everybody made adjustments, and the kids were great and super supportive and very proud of me. Sorry, I'm a little emotionally unstable. I've had a lot of support with the article that I sent you and this podcast today, and it's just this outpouring of love is
amazing,
hitting me in the heart.
No, and I totally understand.
So,
and that's what I love about what your background is, and the fact that you were from coal miner family and that's all you knew. And then, not knowing, this is what inspires other people, knowing that somebody else did it that looks like them, that is like them, and that they can also do it too. This is exactly what the show's about. So I love that you shared that. And the fact that you graduated second in your class, even after being, gone from school. I'm always worried about going back to school because of that. But I love that you inspire me to think about, hey, I may want to go back and get an advanced degree. So Amy, thanks for sharing that. And Brenda, I'm going to move forward with you real quick as well about how career-wise, anything that you've done that's been so scary that you said, okay, I'm not sure about it, and you did it, and they're now reaping the rewards of. If you can share that with us as well.
I mean, I would say starting my own company was the scariest thing I'd ever done. And not that I hadn't had personal challenges. I mean, I have, I've married 3 times. And so I've been through some pretty rough times. I've been a single mom, which was incredibly difficult and challenging. And so many personal things that have really shaped who I am. And I have to say that, taking all that and learning from that strength that you build from the facing those challenges, whether they're, I came from an abusive relationship. I mean, I feel like I've lived 7 lives. Hopefully I'm not out of them, but, every time you do that and you build upon that and then launching into something that it was mine and mine only. I mean, that was taking everything that I had learned and applying it, and then hopefully lifting others around me and making a difference for them and all the leadership that I had experienced. And I mean, I was always somebody in high school that was like, give me a challenge. I'm like, I want to be number one. I want to, whether it was collecting cans for a canned food drive or running for some, I would always try to run for some kind of office or whatnot. But I think those little things, and we all look at those, whether they're successful or not, they shape who we are and they get us through to that next step. And it's so funny how you can look back and say, wow, I had no idea that that was going to be part of this journey until you're there, right? And so I just encourage those who, are thinking about things like, starting your own company or moving to a different career. I mean, kudos to you, Amy, for going to college. I mean, I was like, I don't know that that's in my future, but I just want to take a class or two. Or I've actually thought about, well, when I have more time, I want to, create art or whatnot. But I think we're all very scared to jump off from where we are to what maybe a passion inside that's pushing us to say, okay, come on, try it. And what do we have to lose? I mean, it may not work, but that's okay.
I love it. And I love that you shared the experiences that you had and the fact that you came from an abusive relationship and the challenge that you had, I know will inspire other women as well, because others face that same experience and don't know that there's an opening or air that they can breathe. I mean, usually that really is what happens. And I thank you for sharing that personal story with us. And Kalani, we're going to try you. And I know that
I'm here.
over to your phone, which I love. Thank you so much for doing that. And I know you were sharing how homeownership is probably the most precious thing that we can all do. And I think you're absolutely right with the fact that a lot of times people don't realize how minorities don't know the path and where and how to get there. And
That is correct.
Tell us more about how important that work is for you.
Well, it's extremely important because just in my personal family, I have individuals who never thought they would achieve home ownership, or have close friends who tried the process, tried to purchase, and just didn't have a vetted understanding of what's really involved in achieving home ownership. So for me, the excitement and the adrenaline rush is still there every time I have a closing that occurs for someone who never thought they would have the keys to their own home. In retrospect to the question you just asked about the scariest part, I would honestly say for me, it was moving into a broker owner role. I felt like I had my hand in so many pots that I wouldn't be able to serve the brokerage, the firm in the capacity that I needed to. But with the encouragement of my two partners, who now, I mean, they're both awesome, Deanna as well as Ruth Dower. We sort of approached it from a conquer and divide perspective. So my technical experience from a corporate perspective allowed me to be able to navigate and work with those individuals who were a little bit concerned about how much technology they needed to understand in order to be successful in real estate. And then education is key. Oftentimes I have individuals asking, what are all the acronyms, behind your name? And really, people don't really care about that. When you're meeting with a client, they don't care about all those acronyms until they know that you truly care for whatever their situation is. And then I incorporate those different certifications and designations in explaining how I can serve them, and we collaborate to get a job done. But becoming a broker owner was probably a scary, and I doubted myself. I didn't think that I could give 150%, but I tell you, I send weekly inspirational quotes to the team. I have a quote of the week for your business acumen. And I tell you, but it is also something that blesses me. I have so many people who pour into me, and I just think it's important to disseminate that information and share insightful, inspirational guidance to other agents. I too chose to get my undergrad and my grad degree while working in corporate and also doing real estate. I did it by the grace of God. I cannot tell you how I managed that time, but one of the key attributes in real estate is time management. So I think I handled it pretty well.
Oh my God. And I love the fact that you share with us the three different personalities. And I always say surround yourself with people that are better than you, because that's what really makes you great. And if your
Absolutely.
strength is this, and you got Deanna, whose strength might be different than yours, and Ruth, who's different as well, I think that's really what makes you such a well-rounded and great company. And the fact that you also send those quotes out, that made me teary-eyed just thinking about, because there's nothing more important to me than to motivate other people. So thank you for what you do, Kalani, because I know that you really do help so many people in the community. Now, biases, we all face them. And one of the things that I talk about is unconscious bias. But tell me, was there ever a time that you faced any kind of biases, and how did you overcome it? And I'll start with you, Amy.
Yeah, one time, and I certainly don't want to compare this situation with probably a lifetime of bias from other people, either in my role or in other leadership roles, especially women. But I was team lead for a different company, not the company I'm with now. And one of my employees went to the then CEO and told him that she wouldn't work for someone like me. And that someone like me is because I'm a lesbian. And she left with that message, thinking that she would get support from him because he was a very conservative, a religious person, former military, and he was very upset by that. He was he did not agree with her, even though he seemed more like her than I seemed like her from her perspective. But he was offended for me and very defensive of me. And this is a person who I still run into. She is still part of our industry. And it's sort of a fine line I walk, because I do have real estate agents who I know are in the gay and lesbian community who might cross paths with her. And I do sometimes share that so they will know how to protect their clients if they end up on a transaction where they'll be working with this person. But I have no need to trash her or use her name publicly. I just privately, sometimes I do let people know. But
well, and I think it's really important to I grew up in the South, so and there's so many different opinions and different personalities that we deal with. And I love that you deal with it in a positive way versus a negative way. And I really think it's so special that the president of your company, your CEO, really backed you up. That just says so much about him and his integrity. So again, I love that we work with companies that are, very, special in that way. How about you, Kalani? Did you any biases that you want to share?
I'm sure. And hopefully you guys can still hear me. Oh, awesome. So I would say most recently a bias that I've experienced is sometimes with my name, individuals don't quite know, maybe my national, my ethnic or ethnicity or whatever. But I've had situations where when I'm recruiting, and individuals find out that we are a minority-owned brokerage firm, there's a little hesitancy when they realize there's not a male figure that's part of that higher leadership for the firm. And that's always been interesting, because I present information in such a manner to where we definitely are an inclusive brokerage. We are an inclusive firm where we welcome every culture. And that's something, again, that came from my mentor, Ruth Dower. And so it was just I was taken aback a little bit when the gentleman clearly expressed that he really wanted to work in a more male dominated area, with those that were in leadership. Hence, I was able to recruit that young man, and he's still with the firm today. But again, until you have the hard conversations to really understand why a bias might exist or what the concern truly is, you'll find it's really not 7 degrees of separation. It's more like 2 or 3, but it all starts with a conversation.
Well, and our industry is so it's dominated by women and to begin with, but I love that you were able to convert him and get him to join your company regardless, right? I always
That's
say,
right.
hey, the more, usually you're almost at an advantage when it's, a lot of the opposite, right? Because
Yeah,
you've got the opportunity to really shine. So I
sure.
love that. Love that. How about you, Brenda?
I would say, I mean, I can think of numerous times in my life where it was that I was a woman and not a man. Ownership in my area is dominated by men, and it's very much an good old boys club. And it's hard. There are days where that really gets to me. And I feel that, blazing a trail for women who want to step up to ownership or leadership is, in fact, I could give you an example. What I just accomplished I managed a building that I sold in downtown core of Aspen to a client. And there was a ability to pass this retail front to a woman who she'd been working with this jeweler for 10 years. And she was scared to death that she was, going to maybe jump out. And I said, this is what you need to do. Go apply for your small business loan. Go do, these are the steps. And I will work with you on this space and we will make this happen. She had her grand opening 2 weeks ago. And I couldn't have been more proud. And it's very, just to support somebody that has an independent business, a woman-owned business, and feel like, just that one little storefront, could make a difference. And it's hard when you face, I think, gender biases that are really tough in this industry. And I know there's a lot of women in it, but ownership really comes down to more men-oriented groups. And that's where I think probably in the last few years of my life has really been a challenge.
Well, and I think it's so important, like, to show, right, the many faces of our industry. And that's why I love this show, because I'm able to see so many great women that are just trailblazers and that are working in different facets of our industries that we can also show, so that others can also see themselves in when they see you. So thank you again. Kalani, I really want to talk about how, some of the mentors that have played it, we all have mentors or individuals that we've looked up to that have really changed our lives and helped us along the way. And I know you talked about, several of the mentors that have really kind of helped you. And so if you don't mind sharing with our audience, why is that important and who were your role models as well?
Oh, sure. And I have several mentors just for different areas of my life. I'm a believer. I have a religious mentor who pours into me and encourages me to keep the first things first. If the goal is to help as many people as I can, I really take pride in reading scripture or just inspirational quotes that help me keep that focus. Another business mentor, as I've mentioned before, is Ruth Dower, Ruth Wyvon Dower, 50 plus years in the business, and she's still in the field today. Doing very, very well. She doesn't realize, just because she may not have all the social media or the technical abilities that some of the younger, newer agents may have, she has so much that she can brings to the table, from training and giving that understanding of how were things done 30 years ago, and understanding that relationships are important. And, you want to really become that forever agent by creating those repeatable clients who are referring you to friends and family. And then another mentor for me, obviously my mom taught me the value of a dollar. She taught me you do not spend every dollar that you make. Always look for someone who is less fortunate that you can provide a charity or some kind of service to. Serving people is by nature just who I am. And then I have other individuals. I think it's important to always have someone who's before you and someone that's behind you, so that you're constantly paying it forward and you're constantly bringing someone else up or elevating them. So I would just have to say, and I don't want to get in trouble by naming names, but I probably have about 6 or 7 just super mentors that are just send a text at the right moment, send a word at the right moment. Another really special person in my life is my husband. I've known him for a little bit under 40 years. Come August, it'll be 32 years that I've been married. And I really see how I have 3 adult daughters. I see how they look at my work ethic. I see how they look at how I interact with people. And one of I guess one of the quotes that really stick out for me, and my dad used to always say, just treat people with kindness, you know? It doesn't cost you anything, and why not?
And it impacts so many lives. I think a lot of times kindness is missing in society today. And just that special, be kind to other people, help them open the door, ask them if they need help when they're carrying packages. That's really what it takes. All that really makes a difference. So thank you again.
Sure.
And Brenda, how about you? How about, mentors or independent role models? And do you mentor anyone as well?
Well, I look at a couple of my agents in my office who are new, and that's mentorship right there. I mean, I do spend a great deal of time, probably more so than some of the bigger brokerages, just because, one, it's my business on the line, and two, I want them to succeed. I want them to be, I'm not I don't have 3 or 4 people. I do have somebody else in my office, Mark, who is my right hand, and I wouldn't be able to do it without him. I think that I look at younger women that I know that, again, like this woman who wanted to open up the jewelry store, I try to find something that I can touch, feel, and really be part of, that I can, help through, hold a hand, give a hug, give good business advice. I have had mentors in my life, mostly just friends that have surrounded me, that are my family. I've got a couple of girlfriends that I've had for 25 plus years. We were single parents together. We were, we've gone the gamut, and I've had other people in my world that have been one other woman who was an owner as well in my past company, who she showed up the first day, and we've always kept in contact, and she's always been so supportive. I've really found that through the years of my life that I've sought out places that I could be, whether it was a conference or, some type of place where we could meet as a group and be able to talk and or listen to people that had much more experience or educational backgrounds that I could learn from, because I'm a good listener, and I like to be able to learn from those around me. And so I jump into things that I may not be comfortable with, just to help myself, and to help give me tools to guide myself through whatever phase I'm going through, or something I'm not even there yet. So
I love that. And, there's nothing more to me important than masterminding. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages of being part of this huge family with the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services companies, because there's so many, and Home Services America, there's so many people that we can reach out to. And now that you guys know each other, you can reach out to, to each other and say, hey, how did you handle this? Or, I know that you're in a different phase in your business than I am. I think that is what makes our group so very special. Amy, I know that you have role models as well. So share some of those experiences. And do you mentor anyone as well?
Thank you. Yes. So, I think for most of us as women, our first role model, and maybe the most influential, is our mother often. And my mother was a complicated person, but she picked up 4 kids and moved alone to Georgia, 300 miles away from her entire family, when I was 7 months old. And that was something that's a story I've known my whole life. And it was unbelievably brave, and as I've been a mother and a single parent myself at some point in my life, I'm awed by that. We didn't always see eye to eye, but her influence on me is unmistakable. So that was probably my first, like most of us. Within the industry, I had a very influential a gentleman who had been in the business for many years. And he was a little bit older, from a different generation, and might have come from a perspective that women shouldn't do certain jobs, but that wasn't who he was. He was a great man, a great teacher. We lost him earlier this year, and that was a real loss to our industry. His name was Jim Harris, and he taught me and pulled me into the title industry and was a huge influence on me. It may sound a little out of the box, but I learn a whole lot from my kids. They teach me how to be sensitive. They certainly catch me in every single mistake I make. If I miss somebody's pronouns, they're going to catch it immediately and call me on it and keep me accountable. And that is something that is a huge influence on me, because it's important to me what they think. And so I encourage them to, and they each bring something different to teach me. You asked me who I mentor. I mean, my young attorneys, especially, they learn things from me for sure, but they also teach me things all the time. I'm especially my young Black female attorney, who's also part of the gay and lesbian community, who works with us. I had to have her on our team. She has so much to bring to us and make our company better. And in Birmingham, Alabama, which is 70% minority, there are 3 Black closing attorneys in our market.
Wow.
And that doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous. There's no reason, no justification for it. And she is amazing and knows things that I will never know, and teaches me something every single day. So you can say that I'm her mentor, but she's mine too, and she's just amazing. So.
Oh, thank you. I love that. And the fact that, Jim Harris, I've heard his name mentioned as well before. So great to give him tribute for the work he's done to help you become the person that you are today. What is something that people may not know about each of you that would surprise somebody to hear? I think that's always interesting to know, something that people, are like, wow, I had no idea. How about you, Kalani? Let me start with you.
Hi, thank you so much. One thing that actually came about at this past March, the conference that we had in Louisville, is I decided to stop procrastinating. I've always wanted to play the piano. And there was a demonstration. For those that attended conference, you'll know exactly the part that I'm talking about. And I tell you, so 2 things occurred during that conference. I created me a list of things that I wanted to accomplish before 2022. One was playing the piano. And I do understand some words in Spanish, but my best friend, Deidre Gwen, is absolutely fluent. And I have, I've also made progress in working with someone in my office who indicated they will help me speak Spanish, at least conversationally. Hola.
Hola. Me encanta, me encanta. Well, I love that you took on that piano, and I know our motivational speaker, who's such an inspiration at our conference, was amazing. So I love that. How about you, Brenda?
Something that somebody doesn't know about me? Oh boy. I don't think there's anything I can share at the moment. I'm pretty much an open book.
Well, how about you, Amy? Anything that you'd like to share that maybe people would be surprised to hear?
I think people don't think of me as a particularly domestic sort of person, but I love to sew and quilt. I also love orchids. I have about 30 orchids. So my family thinks I'm the crazy orchid lady. So, but that one's obvious to anyone who's walked in my office. There are about 25 of them in my very small office.
Oh, that's very cool.
In there.
Sewing is such an art, and it's a lost art. Yeah. I think a lot of people, don't know how to sew anymore. And I took it at home ec when I was in high school or junior. I don't remember. It was high school that we had to take home ec, and I loved it. And I sewed all my kids' costumes, and it really is something that's a lot of fun. And quilting obviously is a great part of that. So I'd love to see some of the things that you've done. So we are almost out of time. Can you believe it? We've had so much fun. I do want to hear a little bit about maybe what you believe to be your biggest accomplishment, or something that you would like to kind of leave. Like if you were to tell your children or give them some advice, what would it be? So either one, you can answer that. Kalani, you want to start?
Sure. For me, it's giving back. It is, I know from a brokerage corporate perspective, we support Sunshine Kids, but there are so many needs locally in our community. So I volunteer my time at homeless shelters. I volunteer my time taking clothes and bags and old suitcases to those people on the street who are just displaced at the moment. And I think it's important to give things that are of value to individuals that may be less fortunate. You just don't want to give tattered things or things that you'll just toss out because, but a gently used item, it puts a smile on another person's face. So I really want to leave this world with my kids having a kind heart and just giving back to those that's less fortunate.
That's wonderful. How about you, Brenda?
Well, I'll double back on that one from Kalani, because I think that those are values and things that that resonate way past our passing. And I don't think I've gotten to my biggest accomplishment yet. I know that my family is one of them, and creating a family from blended families is an art form and a labor of love. And I'm sure Amy can talk about that as well. But that is one of my biggest accomplishments. I always tell people, I was just meeting with my CPA yesterday and he was complaining about the kids. And I said, it's the hardest job you ever had. Doesn't matter. I mean, I go to work thinking this is easy, but it's not. But, I think that that's one of them. But I still feel like there's something else ahead of me. I don't know what that is, but I look forward to it. And I think that the one thing that I try to instill is that as hard as life gets, there's somebody else that's suffering as much or more. And if we can make a difference and be kind, it will be so much better, because life is challenging no matter what. We just live for the real great moments. And in between is a tough road.
It is. Thank you. Amy?
To what Brenda said, my children, I will always, I can't imagine anything that I will ever do going forward that will be more important than the work I did to hopefully have an influence on these 7 people. And that is, it's important. It's not like I did all that. They came the way they were, and we helped shape that and hopefully push them in good directions, but it's a lot of them too. But the other work I do, I think COVID shined a big light on exactly how homogenous the title and escrow settlement services industry is, and how things need to change in a big way. And working to make sure that by the time I'm ready to retire, that it looks different. The face of it actually looks different because of things that I did and was able to push forward. Then that's the next big thing. That's what
I love that. That's fantastic. And having a future that looks bright and really equals to the communities that we're serving, I think is very special. All right, last question. So you can either tell me, is there a favorite book that you love or a quote that you want to leave us with? Either one, let me know. I'm gonna start with you, Brenda.
Well, mine goes way back to when I was first married, living in LA, and I picked up this book, Hinds Feet in High Places. It was a game changer for me, along with The Road Less Traveled. And The Road Less Traveled, I recently reread because it was so profound that after 25, 30 years, I picked it back up and I was like, oh, this is why I love this book so much. And that's my book.
So the first one was called
Hinds Feet in High Places. It's
Okay.
an old paperback book. I don't know where I got it from, but it had a lot of metaphors for life that I could relate to when I was a young woman.
I love that. I haven't heard of that book, so I definitely am going to research it as well. How about you, Amy?
So books are a huge part of my life and influence on my life. I mentioned that I majored in English literature, so I've always been a big reader, but your question had to do with business books. So I picked two of the ones that I'm working through now. One is called, I don't want to get this wrong, 8 Ways to Support Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for All. And that's by Johnny Johnson and Michael Weber. And then Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, which are all books about diversity, and the Color of Law is about how and why specifically there has been such an inequity in homeownership and in minority communities. So those are both very influential on the work I'm trying to do now.
Oh my God. And very eye-opening, right? The Color of Law, and the one for 8 Ways that Johnny did. I wrote the foreword on that. So I'm really excited about that. Johnny's a really good friend. He asked me to do that. And what a great book. And there's going to be a new study that's done with a lot of the coaches across the country that we're going to be rolling out in August. So it's exciting news for all of us that are part of our organization. And then Kalani, I don't want to, and again, I want to thank you for your patience of trying to get on and log off and then coming back to us.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it, because you have been such a great insight to us. So how you want to end up the show with your quotes?
Two quotes really resonate with me. One is by Zig Ziglar, and it simply says, you can have everything you want in life if you'll just help enough people get what they want. I really like that. And then I actually heard one last night that was just so quick and simple. It said, peace, prosperity, and purpose should be your focus. If those 3 things are not your focus, then don't spend time doing it. I just thought that was just a quick, easy, memorable quote. And then as far as my 2 books, I love this one. It's Encouragement by Dr. Hank, A Path to Feeling Good. This is just beneficial in both business and personal life. And then the last book I read was Brian Buffini. And this one is The Immigrant Edge, how to make it big in America. Very, very insightful.
I love that book. I mean, I think it's really, it's so insightful and such spot on
Yes.
how sometimes we forget, if you're born in the US, of all the opportunities there really are in this country that we don't take advantage of, or we're always complaining.
Correct.
And when you look at immigrants and how they make it here and how they're excited to come, you can definitely see how successful so many immigrants are in their journey here. So I really want to thank all of you for joining me today on this phenomenal show. I just learned so much about you, and I really love that you shared your insights and your tips today. And I found this quote, which I thought was perfect and really kind of exemplified what I feel you all shared today. And that's to elevate and inspire others is an art and creates a culture that brings out the best in every person because of the positive impact made in each of the lives touched. And I think that's so beautiful, right? And so true, the impact that people have when you just say a kind thing, or with all the work that you do. And it speaks so true of the experiences. And for all of the audience that are here today watching, thank you for joining us and for watching our series. Don't forget to follow us, download our podcast series, which can be found on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. And we have an archive of many great stories on there so you can listen to. So please do that. And all you have to do is go to Women Who Lead Podcasts and .com, and you can access them. And join us on July 27th when we feature influential leaders, just like the ones that you're seeing today, and introduce some of the newest leaders running our brands and franchises. So stay tuned for more. And don't forget to join again our Facebook page, share our episodes, and like our YouTube channel. And one thing I always say is remember to always bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. That's my favorite saying. Wishing you all a wonderful 4th of July weekend. And until we see each other again, have a great 4th of July. Bye-bye, everyone.